So we finally have the official date for the first WWE draft. Okay, we know it's not the first, and that's what makes some people a little hesitant about whether or not the brand split is going to be good. But is it the brand split or the brand extension? They're supposed to be competing for ratings, but they keep saying extension. But they're competing. Whatever. So WWE is going to do this July 19th on the very first ever live SmackDown. As told to us on Monday Night Raw last night, there will be 2 podiums set up for Raw and SmackDown, and the GMs who have still not been decided yet. Right now, it looks like Stephanie and Shane on TV, but we have other GMs from the past coming in to basically show that they want power, basically to show how prestigious or how big of an opportunity this is. We've had Teddy Long. We've had John Laurinaitis. You've had Shane McMahon and Stephanie be there. And I'll be honest with you, when Teddy Long came back a couple days before, I said, Teddy Long has got to come back. Holla, 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 player for those tag team matches. And then he did. And I kind of popped for it. Now, last night, Stephanie wasn't there because she was actually at the Cannes Film Festival. For TV, it plays out good between, Shane and Stephanie being there one week, not being there the next week, especially because if a decision is made and something happens, the next week is kind of must-see TV to see if it gets fixed by the other GM. So up until the brand split, I'm all for this. Now, with that brand split announced and how the format is going to go down, there's rumors right now of possibly 10 NXT call-ups being happening. 10 of them. At least 10. Maybe a dozen NXT talent. Now, when those talent get called up, one, there's going to be a big gap to fill in. Not only that, on the main roster, they're going to have to get old superstars or other superstars to help fill in the spots. Now, reports are coming out that WWE has reached out to quite a few former talents to show up for Raw and SmackDown to basically help put over some of these names. So I think you'll see some unexpected names drafted on some of these shows to basically fill Chris Jericho-esque roles like the Ty Dillingers of NXT or Dolph Ziggler's on the main event. You're going to need other guys that'll help put people over instead of having them be done by sacrificing the other talent that are in the company. So think Dudley Boys, and people kind of complain when they come back just to do that. And I'll be honest with you, man, I think it's great to help put over young talent instead of sacrificing the other young talent. Why sacrifice the young guys? As long as the older guys, the veterans, the legends are able to stay relevant, get a victory here and there so they're a credible threat, I think it's perfectly fine. I'm all for it. Now, based on the draft, though, and if I'm looking at, who I'm trying to go, obviously one show you're filling 3 hours of programming and one show you're filling 2 hours of programming. So you definitely, I think that kind of changes the draft scenario a little bit based on how many people, first of all, you're going to select. Now, Chris Jericho did an out of character interview regarding the draft, saying that they really don't know, where they're going to go. They're going to watch it on the TV, and then, they're going to find out where they're going to go. Now, is it smart for a company like that to basically keep the talent in the dark? Probably not. To make sure nothing gets leaked or nothing happens, absolutely, I'm all for it, though. I think that seeing the actual live reactions from some of the talent to see where they'd end up on Raw or SmackDown would be huge. I definitely think that's something that would make the draft really must-see, because once it launches on SmackDown, and the Raw ratings just came in from last night's Money in the Bank Fallout, up from 2.9 million to 3.5 million during the second hour, which is huge, having Dean Ambrose back on champion. Whether it was because of that, whether it was because of, the NBA Finals being done so more people were willing to tune in, I don't really know. But that Tuesday launch, that has got to be huge. And based on Money in the Bank and last night, I don't know if WWE went out and hired a new writing team, but I am very confident in their abilities. Or at least for last night. Whoever wrote last night, everything kind of swerved together. Now, there was one or two throwaway segments that really maybe didn't need to be there, but ultimately they did a great job writing the show, which definitely makes me have noticed change compared to how the WWE used to be. So going into this brand split, I'm a little bit more optimistic and, not so much pessimistic as, okay, they can't write one show, how are they going to write two? So now that if Raw is being written like it was last night and SmackDown is no longer just a Raw recap show, we could be in for a great summer of WWE wrestling, guys. And I don't think people realize this. You may have noticed me last night on Twitter. I've kind of taken a new approach to the point where I still look at kind of the backstage news and stuff like that, but I look at it from, I just interpret what I see on TV, and I base, what I see from the art form of wrestling and basically what I'm given. Like, the opening match at the WWE Money in the Bank pay-per-view where the mistake happened where it was Aiden English instead of Carl Anderson getting pinned. Well, the club had such a devastating finisher. Aiden English got laid out even when the club got taken out because Doc had to hesitate when Carl was up top. He didn't want him to get taken down. Boom. I made it my storyline myself to myself. Now, that's obviously maybe not true, but it definitely brought up my entertainment a little bit. And if I'll be honest with you here, and I'll be 100% with this, the draft has the potential to be my favorite thing. Because right now, I really have no reason to watch SmackDown other than to hear Mauro Ranallo call. That's keeping it 100. The reason that I watch SmackDown is to hear Mauro Ranallo on the call because he's great. If he were to switch over to SmackDown, from SmackDown to Raw, I may not be watching. I'm kidding. I'd probably watch. If you put Michael Cole only on SmackDown and Mauro on Raw, well, I guess I have no reason to call there. Now, with Jerry Lawler suspended, though, with the draft indefinitely suspended, it looks like it did seem like a case of his girlfriend was drunk. He was trying to stop it. I don't think there was necessarily any violence on his part, at least right now. So if he does come back, or if he doesn't come back, where are the booths going to go? How is WWE going to do this? I personally want a Mauro Ranallo, Corey Graves booth. I think that would be a great booth to have, calling matches, whether that would be on Raw and SmackDown. If it's a new era, you want to do the big show, throw them on Raw. If you want to start them slower, put them on SmackDown. But again, if you're competing, and the announcement basically says they are fully competing for ratings, for everything. The initial announcements of the extensions didn't have them necessarily competing, just unique roster storylines and a team of writers. Now it is cutthroat. They're going to go after the ratings. Now, some people are going to be like, and I've seen some of these reports that people have asked Meltzer, well, wouldn't they just sacrifice if SmackDown become more popular than Raw? Would WWE, cut back the show or hurt it so Raw could become more popular? And I'm sitting there, why would WWE do that? If WWE took SmackDown up 1 million people, their television rights that they could get from USA a couple years later would be huge. WWE has got all the chips in the card here. Now, I will say this, SmackDown being taped, there often is some reshoots. If WWE was live when Natalya and Ric Flair were in the ring, and Ric Flair told Natalya to kill herself, that could be an issue. I think the talent at WWE are consummate professionals. I think that they can handle that, but that's something to keep in mind as well with it going live for the first time. Chris Jericho said that again in that interview. He said, you kind of have a little bit of leeway on SmackDown. If something messes up, you can kind of redo it. And that really is true. That is kind of a big deal, man. If you're used to being on SmackDown, if you're one of the talents that get more exposure on SmackDown, and now all of a sudden you're live, and if you have a goof up or a mix up, well, look what happens now. And if I'm being 100% honest, I think the first couple weeks, it may take a little while to get used to. I think you may have to find your sea legs in this draft. I don't think it's going to come or start perfectly or smooth sailing. I do have a lot of faith in the talent themselves. The company, I'm a little worried about the brand split. I'll be honest with you, because I didn't know the direction they were going to go. It seemed like it was a spur-of-the-moment announcement, but based on last night's TV, I'm not too worried about it. My worry level was pretty high up until Money in the Bank and then last night. And then especially the fact that they burned the Money in the Bank briefcase, so now you won't have to worry about that between the shows, or explaining it at least, because we have two brands now. How are you going to explain the briefcase? And it is really weird timing that the Money in the Bank briefcase was right before the brand split, because what are they supposed to say? Well, the Money in the Bank briefcase will be able to go between both shows. They never set up any rules for that. So to have a Money in the Bank briefcase holder around on this brand split probably would have been hard. And I'm glad they at least had Dean Ambrose cash in so Dean Ambrose could be the champion. Now, Dean Ambrose mentioned SmackDown. Sasha Banks has mentioned SmackDown. I think some people are going to associate SmackDown with the more live action, and it should, because in 2 hours, you're going to have to, I think, feature more wrestling, more of the stuff that the indie fans, the smarks, the people like myself like. More wrestling, not as much soap opera based. You're still going to need some story development, seeing the stuff like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I don't ever want to see them stop fighting. They're going to be 45 doing reunion tours, still fighting like 10 or 15 years down the road. They're still going to be doing the same ladder spots. They're still going to be killing it out there. And it's going to be awesome to see. So, Raw, SmackDown GMs, if I had to pick right now, let's say the other GMs weren't a possibility and we only had Shane or Stephanie. I would put Stephanie on SmackDown and Shane on Raw. I think you give Shane Raw, or, all the alternative guys like the Zigglers, the Bryans back in the day that said that put me on SmackDown, I'll run it. If they're going to go the alternative route and make SmackDown the cool hip thing, then give it to Shane. If they don't really care and you want the biggest Monday night to be the biggest possible ratings, put Shane on there, give Dean Ambrose in there, because last night I thought Shane did a good job. I think he messed up on one or two of the lines, if I remember correctly, but overall he did a good job. Stephanie working a little bit better, possibly working on SmackDown. Now, you could get Stephanie out of this role, because here's where it is. Stephanie does play a character on TV, and people always ask, how can they do anti-bullying if Stephanie's a heel character? It is television. Your favorite heel on any, or your favorite bad guy in any of your show, they're allowed to have a life and go outside and promote activism or non-bullying too. She's a character. But I think putting a GM in the spot where she can do the brand-friendly stuff and not have to worry about being on screen, being the bad guy, would be beneficial to her, and I think it would be beneficial to the company. Now, she says she likes playing the villain because when they finally get their comeuppance, it's good, which that's what I'm all for. So I would put Stephanie, I would keep her off the side right now. Make her be possibly the principal owner, I don't know. But I would let Shane run Raw and then let somebody up and coming run SmackDown. Maybe have Daniel Bryan run SmackDown, to let that be that new hip crowd. Maybe when Daniel Bryan said years ago, give me the keys to SmackDown, he meant his GM. Kurt Angle would be a great SmackDown general manager. There's so much to talk about the WWE draft, but now that we know it's going to happen live on SmackDown ratings, I hope, do the biggest show that they've done. I hope that first show sets the tone and really puts WWE in this new era to really set it apart, because based on what we've seen, I'm more of a fan. I am more optimistic for a brand split than ever, and I want to know your guys' thoughts on this. Based on the recent developments in the WWE, everything that's happened from Money in the Bank or last night, did you enjoy the shows? Most people gave it a thumbs up. I think only 10% of my people on my poll last night gave it a thumbs down. If you were one of the people that really enjoyed it, are you more optimistic now going into the brand split? Are you more apt to believe WWE can successfully do this based on what we've seen? And if so, who do you have being the GMs going where? Are you putting Shane on Raw, Stephanie on SmackDown? Let me know in the comment section below. And until next time, guys, more coverage of the draft will be coming up, and I cannot wait. July 19th live on USA Network.